Cells are the smallest living organisms. Every cell in the world has three things in common. All of them have a cell membrane, which is also called a plasma membrane, and you can kind of consider it the protector of the cell, or the wall. The second thing that every cell has in common is the cytoplasm, which is the gooey liquid inside the cell where everything is located in. The third thing that every cell has is DNA, and sometimes is inside the nucleus, and other times it's not. If you want to put it in simple terms, the DNA of the cell is the genetic information of that cell. There are two types of cells in the world: the prokaryotes and the eukaryotes. Eukaryotic cells are more complicated than the other ones, and you could find this type of cell inside animals, humans, and plants. The other type of cell, like we said, is the prokaryote cell. This one is much simpler than the other one. These types of cells do not have a nucleus like the eukaryote. It has the cell membrane, the cytoplasm, and the DNA in the center, and the DNA is just free flowing and it's not inside a nucleus because it doesn't have one. And that's the main difference between the prokaryote and the eukaryote. One has a nucleus and this one doesn't. There are a lot of bacteria that are prokaryote cells, but not all prokaryote cells are bacteria. And as you know, all bacteria is not bad. Unlike eukaryotes, prokaryote cells will never multiply like they do. They will always stay as a single cell organism. Like when you look at the human liver, this is made up of eukaryotic cells. They basically multiply, hold each other's hands, and produce an organ. But a prokaryote cell will never be able to do that. Let's get to know eukaryotic animal cells first. Inside these cells, we have organelles, or in simple terms, the main parts of a cell. Like for example, the nucleus is the most important part, and that's counted as an organelle. You could consider the nucleus the control center of the entire cell. And just like we said before, inside the nucleus, there is the DNA. If you've seen our video about DNA in simple terms, you'll know that the DNA is a code, and the code is given so they can produce different types of proteins. When a cell is trying to multiply and raise its population, the DNA that's inside the nuclei will start producing chromosomes. When chromosomes is being made, the nuclei does something else. It starts producing ribosomes. The ribosomes inside the cell are the ones that produce proteins with the help of the RNA. You could kind of consider ribosomes as a 3D printer, where they get the code from the DNA and start producing protein. There are vesicles inside and outside of a cell, which look like this, and you could kind of consider them a sac. When ribosomes produce protein, they're given to these vesicles. You could also consider the vesicles as the carrier of the protein. When these tiny sacs pick up the protein, they go somewhere very important, a place called the Golgi apparatus. The Golgi apparatus is an engineering marvel, and it's amazing how it works. It accepts the protein from these little sacs and starts modifying the protein. The Golgi apparatus can do pretty much anything with the protein like it wants. Add carbohydrates to it or lipid. But let's go to the next thing on the list, a section called the lysosome. The lysosome's job is extremely important, but it's not complicated like the Golgi apparatus. You could consider it the garbage collector of a cell. It's like a balloon that hovers around the cells, and if it sees trash, it annihilates it and basically eliminates it inside the bubble. You might say, why is there garbage inside the cell? By garbage, we mean parts of the cells that have stopped working or are not working correctly. And if they remain inside the cell, they will do more damage than good, so they have to be eliminated by the lysosome. The most amount of things the lysosome eliminates is ribosomes that are not working correctly or have died off. Another section of a cell is the mitochondria. The mitochondria is the powerhouse of a cell. In simple terms, they give energy to the cell. All cells don't have the same amount of mitochondria. It all depends to the energy they need. Some need more, some need way less. Based on the energy needed for that cell, the mitochondria number will increase. Like for example, in the human body, the part that needs the most amount of mitochondria is the heart, and they need the most out of any other body part. You might not believe it, but the cells that make up your heart have about 5,000 mitochondria in each of them. After your heart cells, the most amount of mitochondria is in a sperm cell, and it's a little bit less than 5,000 mitochondria. So with all this going on inside the cell, why doesn't it just collapse? How does it stay together? The reason it doesn't fall apart is because it has a skeleton. It's called the cytoskeleton. But the skeleton is not made from bone like a human. It's made up of string-looking material that's basically protein, and it holds the entire cell together and doesn't allow it to collapse. If the cell we're telling you about has chloroplast inside it, that means it's a plant cell. The chloroplast is a part of a plant cell that does the most important thing, photosynthesis. In simple terms, this part of the cell accepts the sunlight from the sky, it gets water from the root of the plant, it also takes in carbon dioxide from the air, and when it collects all of this, it gives oxygen in return, produces energy for the plant to stay alive and grow, and it also produces sugar for itself. Animal cells have a skeleton, which we said is called the cytoskeleton made up of protein. But in a plant cell, instead of a cytoskeleton, it has a cell wall that holds everything together. It's interesting to know that in the human body, the only cell that has a tail is a sperm cell. This part of the cell is called the flagellum, or in simple terms, the tail. Most cells that have a tail or a flagellum are bacteria. Our entire body and existence is made up of these cells. If the cells are alive, then we are alive. If they are young, then we are young. When you get older, your cells will also get older, and replacing them will become slower and slower. Most cells' life are extremely short. Like your skin cell only lasts between 2 to 4 weeks. In a young person's body, these cells will replace itself immediately, and that is why the person looks young, because it has brand new cells. But the older you get, the speed of replacing slows down, and that is why you look older. Another example is that your liver cells last 300 days, and if you eat too much alcohol, you will kill off these cells and damage your liver because it has to keep replacing cells that you kill with alcohol. Your heart has one of the longest lifespan for a cell. Each cell lasts about 4.5 years. But compared to the cells inside your brain, also known as the neurons, they are nothing. Because your neurons are basically supposed to last your lifetime, and they're never supposed to die. They will last this long unless you take brain damage, have a stroke, use drugs that heavily impact your brain. All these could damage and kill off the neurons, and they won't be replaced. And in long terms, this could lead to other sicknesses like Alzheimer's. When you smoke cigarettes, the smoke directly affects the cells inside your body, especially your lungs. When it kills off your cells, and this lasts a very long time, it could lead to cancer. I hope this video taught you to learn more about your body and take care of it a little bit better.